Tonight, it is every hunter for themselves.
Good luck.
It was a dark and stormy night at Bloodstone Manor. If you recognize that cliche, you might also recognize the well-worn premise of Werewolf by Night, a stylish homage to the classic Universal monster movies from the 1930s and 40s. But while Universal itself has faltered in bringing its monsters back to the big screen, Werewolf by Night is a mesmerizing celebration of everything those classic horrors were all about. Its mysterious setup is steeped in age-old horror tropes, and it's all the better for it. A dead relative, a cantankerous widow, and a spooky-looking mansion evoke long-dead Hollywood horrors such as Dracula, Frankenstein, and of course, the Wolfman. Director Michael Giacchino is clearly a fan. The attention to detail in this well-crafted special is phenomenal, with the titular werewolf appearing with practical makeup in a style that's very obviously inspired by the Wolfman. Even the werewolf's transformation scene is played for authenticity, sidestepping the kind of over-the-top digital effects that we've become accustomed to in the MCU. Giacchino proves himself to be a master of the long, slow zoom, with the camera inching its way closer and closer to actress Laura Donnelly's face as we only see the shadow silhouette of the man turning into a monster. It's a neat trick that really heightens the tension and anticipation, and when we finally do see the werewolf, it descends into a far gorier rampage than you might expect, especially considering it's a Marvel movie. Although Werewolf by Night is far bloodier than your usual Marvel flick, that's not to say it becomes an all-out gore fest. Quite the opposite. It's more tense than it has any right to be, with an incredibly spooky atmosphere that uses old-school lighting techniques to recreate the tone of those early horror films. All in all, it's a classic horror lover's dream, and that's not to say it doesn't have a few surprises too. Along with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness earlier this year, Werewolf by Night is one of Marvel's first tentative steps into the darker corners of its cinematic universe. With that in mind, you'll find references to other Marvel characters, as well as one particular appearance that should have comics fans cheering. Leaning into the macabre side of the MCU is no small feat, but Werewolf by Night makes it look easy. Doing it via a retro-style horror flick is a stroke of genius. Gael Garcia Bernal, meanwhile, is excellent in the role of Jack Russell, wearing the weight of his task on his face as he enters the lion's den. Equally, Donnelly plays the kick-ass Elsa with a strength and fortitude that's needed, and the chemistry between the two is wonderful. Werewolf by Night is a wondrous homage to the classic Universal monster movies from the 1930s and 40s. It's about as scary as those original films are to a modern audience, but that doesn't matter. It faithfully evokes the kind of classic horror that we haven't seen in decades. The style may be old, and the tropes may be well worn, but the film's Marvel twist is enough to keep it feeling relatively fresh while tapping into the nostalgia of horror film fans. It may not make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, but it will keep you on the edge of your seat with a slow, creeping tone that captures the very best of throwback horror. For more spooky goodness, check out what we thought of Hocus Pocus 2 and The Munsters. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
But one of you is a monster, masquerading as one of our own. I can't wait to find out what breed of evil you are.